walked between rows of coffee plants, not because Kentucky was known for coffee, but because Sam had a habit of growing what reminded him of warmth. His shirt clung to his back, damp with the weight of sweat and time. A faded straw hat shielded his weathered face, and an old canvas sack swung from his shoulder as he worked. Sam was 71 and had lived alone for nearly a decade. His wife, Louise, had passed away quietly one winter, and his 2 children had moved far away, busy with lives that didn't leave much room for small-town roots. Sam didn't blame them. But the silence in his wooden cottage, just off the dirt road that cut through the hills, was deafening some nights. Each morning after far prayers, something he had embraced privately years ago, Sam fetched water from the well, swept the porch, and fed his chickens. Life was humble. Clean but lonely. Most days, he didn't hear another human voice. That afternoon, as he sat on the creaky porch sipping strong black coffee brewed from beans he'd ordered online, he noticed footsteps. Not from the woods behind his home, but from the gravel road out front. A young white man, tall with sharp features and wearing hiking boots and a North Face jacket, approached. "You Sam Walker?" he asked, his tone friendly but urgent. Sam stood slowly, sizing him up with the caution of an old man who had seen too many surprise visitors. "Yes, sir," Sam replied, wiping his hand on his trousers before offering a handshake. "My name is Daniel. I'm a doctor. Well, I'm here on a medical fellowship from Switzerland. I heard through some local folks that you're honest. Patient. I need someone like that." Sam raised an eyebrow. "What for?" "I have a colleague. Her name is Dr. Amelia Rhodes. She's also from Switzerland. Brilliant eye surgeon. But she went blind in an accident last year. She's here in Kentucky, recovering. And she needs someone trustworthy to help with daily care." Sam blinked. "You want me to do it? I'm just a farmer." "That's exactly why." Daniel smiled. "You're grounded. Real. We don't need another sterile hospital room. We need kindness." Sam scratched his chin. "I ain't no nurse. And I don't move like I used to." Daniel hesitated, then said, "We'll pay you $1,500 a day." Sam coughed mid-sip of coffee. "What did you say?" Daniel nodded. $1,500 per day. It's part of a private recovery fund. She doesn't know about the money. She just needs someone who won't treat her like a project." Sam leaned back in his chair, heart racing, not from greed, but disbelief. That money could fix the house, pay off the property taxes, maybe even help convince his kids to come home for a visit. But it wasn't just the money. It was the mystery. Why him? Why now? Something about the way Daniel spoke stirred something inside the old man, an echo of meaning. That night, Sam didn't sleep right away. He sat outside with the stars above and cicadas singing in the woods. He prayed quietly, whispering to the one who had guided him through so much loss. "Lord, if this is the door you're opening, then give me strength to walk through it." The next morning, Sam put on his best button-down shirt and walked with Daniel through winding roads up to a private lodge nestled at the foot of Pine Ridge. The place looked like it belonged in a travel magazine. Wooden cabins surrounded by flowering dogwoods and the scent of pine in the air. Inside, in the farthest room, sat a woman with a white bandage gently covering her eyes. She had a stillness about her. Regal, but distant. Beautiful, but closed. "Amelia," Daniel said. "This is Sam. He's here to help." Amelia turned her head slightly. "I don't need some Appalachian farmer to babysit me," she said coldly. Sam didn't flinch. He simply stepped forward and spoke gently. "Ma'am, I didn't come to fix you. I just came to be useful. If I'm not, I can leave." She didn't reply. She turned back toward the window. The silence in the room was thick. That first day, Sam didn't go in. He just sat on the porch outside her cabin, quietly whittling wood and listening to the wind. He placed some fresh apples from his orchard on the doorstep and left. The next morning, he returned again. No words. Just swept the walkway, left warm water for her bath, and sat by the porch. On the third day, Amelia asked through the door. You always up this early? Sam chuckled softly. I get up before the rooster even thinks about it. She chuckled too. A light, delicate laugh, her first in days. That was enough for Sam. He knew a door had opened. The next few days passed like gentle waves on a still lake. Sam continued his quiet routine. He'd leave home just after prayer, walk up the gravel road, sweep the porch of Amelia's cabin, prepare warm water, and leave a small gift each day. Apples, boiled eggs, a jar of wild honey. Amelia rarely spoke. When she did, her voice was flat, sometimes sharp. This tea is too hot. These sheets feel scratchy. You walk too loudly. Sam never reacted with anything but calm. Sorry about that, he'd say simply. I'll do better tomorrow. He knew she wasn't mad at him. She was mad at life. At the cruel hand it had dealt her. A world-renowned eye surgeon, reduced to darkness and dependency in a place that felt like the edge of nowhere. What hurt her the most wasn't the blindness. It was losing control. One morning, as a storm rolled in over the hills and thunder rumbled like distant drums, Amelia sat near the window. Sam was by the stove in the small kitchen, heating water for tea. The leak in the roof had returned. It tapped softly into a bucket placed on the floor. Sam, Amelia said suddenly, her voice quieter than usual. Aren't you afraid of being alone? He paused, turning slightly toward her. Used to be, he replied. But I'm more afraid of living without gratitude. She didn't reply. But she sat still for a long time, digesting his words like medicine. Later that evening, Amelia found herself listening to the rain as it fell steadily. Sam shared a few gentle stories, about Louise, his late wife, about his children who sent postcards once a year but hadn't visited in a decade. About how the hills felt less like home after she passed. I pray a lot now, Sam added, not as a declaration but as a whisper. Helps when there's no one left to talk to. Amelia tilted her head toward him, surprised. You're religious? I'm Muslim, he said simply. Found peace in it late in life. Quiet kind of faith. I don't know much about Islam, she admitted. That's okay, Sam said. You don't have to know a whole book to recognize kindness. She was quiet again. But this time, her silence wasn't cold. It was full of thought. The next morning, Amelia asked, Would you walk with me through the garden? Sam nodded, holding out his arm. Of course. She took it, hesitating slightly. Her fingers were soft but tense. Slowly, with deliberate steps, they moved through the wet grass path. The smell of pine, rain-soaked earth, and distant wildflowers filled the air. Under a flowering dogwood tree, they stopped. Amelia leaned in slightly, breathing deeply. I used to think silence was the absence of life, she said. But here, it feels full. Sam smiled. City folks are always running. Out here we listen. She turned her head slightly. I didn't think I'd trust anyone again. And I didn't think I'd be cooking tea for a Swiss doctor. They both chuckled. It was a sound neither of them knew they needed to hear. Back in the cabin, over breakfast, Amelia suddenly asked, Sam, are you helping me for the money? He looked up from the oatmeal he was stirring. I won't lie. That money will help fix things. My roof. My land. My debt. But I'm not here because of it. Then why? Because I think you're meant to be found, not fixed. She looked down, her lips trembling slightly. No one said that to me before. That afternoon, she tried to help in the kitchen. Sam guided her hands over the stove carefully. Ever made cornbread? He asked. No, but I've eaten a lot of bad ones. She smiled. They cooked slowly, making a mess, but laughing like children as flour dusted the counter and Amelia nearly dropped the skillet. When they sat down on the porch to eat, she whispered, This is better than any restaurant. You're just hungry, Sam teased. No, she replied firmly. I'm content. A few days later, as they walked into the small town market, locals glanced in surprise. A blind woman, arm in arm with an old Appalachian farmer. It was a sight people didn't see often. But there was no judgment in their eyes. Just curiosity. And soon smiles. "Howdy, Sam!" called out a shopkeeper. "This your friend?" asked a woman behind a produce stand. Sam nodded. "This is Amelia." Amelia raised her head and smiled. "It's nice to meet you." She ran her hands across different fruits, laughing when she mistook a cantaloupe for a cabbage. "I forgot how fun it is just to touch things," she said. Sam nodded. "Sometimes the world's better without pictures. Just feelings." As they returned to the lodge that evening, she said, "Why are you so patient with me, Sam?" He thought for a second. "Because I know you're not mad at me. You're just mad at what life did to you. And I've been there." She didn't reply. But as they sat in the quiet of the porch, she reached out and gently touched his hand. The days moved slower in the hills. Time wasn't something you chased, it just passed like a calm river. Sam and Amelia had settled into a rhythm: morning tea, quiet conversation, short walks around the cabin, and shared silences that felt warm, not empty. But behind Amelia's calm voice and gentle smiles, there were shadows. One rainy night, as thunder rolled across the sky and the wind howled through the trees, Sam noticed Amelia standing near the window, her hand resting on the cold glass. Her white bandage had long been removed, but her eyes still looked distant, unfocused. "I used to have an apartment in Zurich," she said, voice low. "It had floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, everything clean, polished, expensive." Sam stirred the tea quietly. "But at night, it always felt cold. Big space, but no warmth. Just echoes of my own footsteps." She turned her head slightly, facing Sam's direction. "I was married once," she continued. "His name was Thomas. We were both doctors. Busy. Cold. I thought we were partners in purpose. But we were really just roommates in ambition." Sam didn't speak. He knew when to listen. "We divorced right before my accident. After I went blind, he stopped returning my calls." A long silence. "When my eyes failed, everyone disappeared," she said with a bitter laugh. "Except Daniel." Sam sat on the edge of the chair. "I'm sorry." Amelia shook her head. "No need. I think I was disappearing long before that. I just didn't realize it." Sam took a slow breath. "It's strange. You lose people, things, even sight. And somehow, you end up seeing clearer than ever." Amelia let out a dry laugh. "You're full of strange wisdom, Sam." He smiled. "Years of talking to chickens'll do that to a man." That night she didn't cry. But her silence was heavier. Like she was finally letting go of a weight she'd carried across continents. The next morning, Amelia asked, "Can you teach me how to cook rice on a stove?" Sam blinked. "You sure? You might get smoke in your hair." "I'd rather smell like smoke than sadness," she said. They cooked together in the small kitchen. Sam guided her hands gently, showing her how to feel the warmth of the flame, how to stir with the edge of a wooden spoon, how to listen to the sizzle of boiling water. She smiled when the rice began to smell nutty and warm. "I used to measure life in appointments and deadlines. Now I'm learning to measure it in minutes of flame and spoonfuls of steam." Later, they ate on the porch, watching the sky turn gold. "This tastes like freedom," Amelia whispered. "No Michelin star needed," Sam said with a grin. Over the next few days, Amelia began to visit the fields more often. Sam would guide her through rows of plants, letting her feel the textures of leaves and soil. She began bringing a thermos of tea, sitting under a large tree near the edge of the woods. "I never thought silence could be healing," she said once. Sam replied, "Out here, silence is louder than noise." They spoke about their youth. Sam told her how he'd worked the land with his father since he was a boy. How he'd never gone to college, never left the county. How Louise taught him how to pray after her own quiet conversion. "Faith doesn't always come in a flash," he said. "Sometimes it creeps in through loss, then takes root in silence." Amelia listened quietly. I used to think science and faith were opposites. But maybe they're both just ways of trying to see something bigger. One afternoon, under the wide Kentucky sky, Amelia asked gently, Sam, do you ever think about marrying again? Sam looked up from his cup. No one wants a rusty old truck when there are shiny new ones out there. Amelia turned her face toward him. Maybe you don't realize a blind woman from Switzerland is considering it. He froze. His breath caught. Then she added softly, I'm not ready yet. But I think, if one day I am, I'd want to live here. In your house. Where people see me with their hearts, not their eyes. Sam couldn't reply. His throat tightened. He just nodded, blinking back something he wasn't ready to call a tear. That night, Sam lit the old oil lamp on his porch. Not just for light, but for hope. And inside, Amelia sat at the window, running her fingers along a page of Braille she had written herself with the help of a village volunteer. It was a letter to someone from her past. To Lucas. Let me find my own way. Sometimes, even open eyes can't see happiness. Amelia. News travels fast in small towns. By the next morning, whispers of a wealthy European visitor and a luxury car on the Ridge Road had reached nearly every porch and produce stall. Folks didn't often see imported sedans crawling up their hills, especially not stopping at Sam Walker's place. Inside the cabin, Amelia sat at the kitchen table, her fingers trembling slightly on the rim of her coffee mug. Her face was composed, but Sam noticed her other hand tightening into a fist every few seconds. The front door creaked open. Miss Rhodes? Came a crisp male voice. Amelia? She knew the voice before the words finished. Lucas, she said softly. Lucas Rhodes, her younger cousin and family representative, stood tall in a dark gray suit, his face pale with concern. What are you doing here? He said, switching to a gentler tone. We've been searching for weeks. You can't just disappear. Amelia turned her face toward him. I didn't disappear. I just stopped being found by people who didn't listen. We've arranged a flight. There's a treatment facility in Switzerland, specialized therapists, cutting-edge equipment. You can't possibly heal in a place like this. Sam stood to the side, eyes lowered. She's been healing just fine here. Lucas glanced at him. And who are you? The caretaker? How much are they paying you? 1,500 a day? Sam didn't look angry. Just tired. I didn't ask for the money. I was just told I'd be helping someone who needed a little patience. I said yes. Amelia spoke up, her voice firmer now. Lucas, Sam isn't using me. He's the first person in a long time who sees me without judging what I've lost. Lucas softened slightly but kept pressing. You're blind, Amelia. You need care. Real care. This man isn't equipped to give you the life you deserve. Sam spoke gently. Maybe not. But sometimes, what we deserve isn't what we need. And sometimes what we need ain't money or medicine. Lucas sighed and took a business card from his coat. I'll be back tomorrow. Please think about it. You can't stay hidden forever. He left without another word. Later that evening, Sam sat quietly on the porch. Amelia stepped outside and sat beside him, holding her cane loosely across her lap. I'm sorry about Lucas, she said. Don't be. He just cares for you in a different way. We all carry different versions of love. Amelia nodded slowly. He represents the life I used to have, clean, fast, prestigious. But that life never made me feel like I belong. She turned towards Sam. Here, I'm learning to breathe again. Sam gave a small smile, but his eyes were heavy. I know you might leave. I know you might go back. And that's okay. She reached for his hand. But what if I don't want to go back? They sat in silence, the last of the sunlight disappearing behind the hills. That night, Sam didn't pray for strength. He prayed for clarity. If she's not meant to stay, he whispered, help me let go without bitterness. And if she is, help me become the man she deserves. The next morning arrived with a chill in the air. Birds chirped cautiously as clouds lingered in the sky. The luxury car returned. Lucas stepped out, expecting resistance. But Amelia was already dressed, wearing a soft headscarf Sam had gifted her days earlier. Simple, white, and elegant. "Are you ready?" Lucas asked. She smiled. "Yes. But not to leave." Lucas froze. "Amelia, please don't be reckless." "I've never been clearer," she said. "I may be blind, but here I can see. I see warmth, honesty, faith. I've found what I was missing, and it wasn't in Switzerland." "But what about your work, your career, your family?" Amelia's voice wavered just slightly. "I can build new work. Find new purpose. And you? You're still my family, Lucas. But I can't go back to a life where I was a stranger to myself." Lucas looked at Sam, his expression conflicted. Then, without a word, he reached into his pocket, handed Amelia a small envelope, and said, "Then this is for you. A letter from Aunt Cecile. She says she misses you." He turned to Sam. "Take care of her." "I will," Sam replied softly. "Whether she stays or not." With that, Lucas left. And the gravel road was silent once again. Later that evening, as the crickets hummed and a breeze rustled the trees, Amelia turned to Sam inside the cabin. "There's still one thing I want to do," she said. "What's that?" She smiled gently. "If you'll have me. I want to marry you." Sam sat frozen for a moment. Then he looked away, blinking hard. "I'm just a man with dirt under his nails, Amelia. And I'm just a woman who's tired of pretending she's whole when she's not," she said. They both smiled. And in that moment, a kind of peace settled in the room. Not the kind that comes from answers, but the kind that comes from knowing you're not alone anymore. The news of Sam Walker and Dr. Amelia Rhodes' engagement spread through the little Kentucky town like spring breeze over a field of dandelions. People talked about it everywhere, at the feed store, in the church parking lot, and over garden fences. "A Swiss doctor marrying old Sam? I heard she can't see, but folks say she glows when she talks to him. They say she helps him run a free clinic now. How about that?" But nobody ridiculed. Not here. This wasn't the kind of place where people laughed at love. It was the kind of place where folks smiled, shook hands, and brought over pies when you said, "I do." Sam, for his part, approached the town mayor, a kind, balding man named Mr. Russell, to ask permission to use the small mosque on the edge of town for the ceremony. "She's new to the faith," Sam explained. "And I'm old, but we both believe God put us together." Mr. Russell smiled, clapped a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Well, then I reckon you both deserve a beginning that's full of grace." The wedding was simple. No designer gowns, no string quartets. Just jasmine flowers, folding chairs, and the sound of birds overhead. The town's small Muslim community came together, helping prepare food, set decorations, and guide Amelia gently through each step. She wore a white lace dress with a soft, flowing hijab, something she had chosen herself weeks earlier, saying, "I may be blind, but this veil makes me feel like I'm finally seeing with dignity." Sam wore an old suit Louise had once bought him at a thrift store. He'd had it cleaned and pressed, and he'd added a boutonniere of rosemary and wild mint from the garden. The imam officiated with quiet sincerity. And when it came time for the vows, Sam's voice trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of answered prayers. "I never thought I'd find joy again," he said. "But somehow, God sent it in the form of a woman who can't see me, but sees my heart." Amelia smiled, tears resting at the edge of her eyes. "And I never thought I'd find peace in silence. But I found it in your hands, in your voice, in your faith." When they said "I do," there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even Mr. Russell choked up a little behind his glasses. After the ceremony, children ran through the grass with balloons, old men played soft banjo tunes, and neighbors lined up to hug the new couple like family. A few days later, life went back to its quiet rhythm, but with something warmer in the air. Sam and Amelia moved into his wooden cottage at the edge of the fields. It didn't have a big kitchen or polished floors, but Amelia said, It smells like hope. Together, they opened a small medical shed beside the house, a humble clinic for local families. Amelia couldn't do surgery anymore, but she guided mothers through child care, offered health tips to elders, and coordinated medicine deliveries. Sam helped with paperwork, tea, and the occasional sermon at the prayer room. In the mornings, they prayed side by side. Sam would help her with ablution, gently guiding her hands. Over time, Amelia began to memorize parts of the Qur'an, not just the sounds, but the meanings. She said, "I may be blind, but when I hear the words of God I see light." One cool autumn evening, they sat under their favorite oak tree in the field. The leaves rustled softly above them, and the sun cast a golden haze over the hills. Sam handed her a mug of cinnamon tea. "What are you thinking about?" Amelia smiled. "How life is like this tea. It burns your tongue if you're impatient. But if you wait, it becomes something that warms your soul." Sam chuckled. "That's pretty poetic. You're rubbing off on me," she replied. After a pause, Amelia said, "Do you remember the first thing I ever said to you?" Sam nodded. "I don't need some Appalachian farmer babysitting me. You were pretty harsh. And you still stayed," she whispered. "I didn't come to change you. I came to wait." Amelia turned her face toward him. "Well, you didn't just wait. You saved me." "No," Sam said gently. "You saved yourself? I just held the flashlight." Their story, over time, began to spread beyond the Appalachian hills. A journalist from a regional magazine did a story on their free clinic. Then a Christian radio host aired an interview about a blind doctor and a man of faith who found each other in the woods. Eventually, a quiet wave of people began visiting their town, seeking not just health advice, but peace. One young woman, a college student, asked Amelia during a visit, "How did you survive losing everything?" Amelia smiled. "I didn't survive by holding on. I survived by letting go of pride, fear, control. And by trusting a man who showed me that even in blindness, you can find light." On their one-year anniversary, Sam and Amelia sat once again on their porch, wrapped in a shared blanket as fireflies danced in the yard. "I still don't understand why God sent you to me," Sam said quietly. Amelia reached for his hand and whispered, "Maybe He knew we both needed someone who would love without seeing, and someone who would heal without fixing." Sam looked up at the sky. "You think it's possible? That after so much pain, we still get to live a beautiful life?" Amelia leaned against his shoulder. "We already are.